Hello, Jonathan. Oh,
Hello, Gregory. Is that you, my good
hello.
man? Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
From all across the country.
I'm calling from because it's Modernism Week here in Palm Springs, California. I'm
Mm,
calling from 1945.
yes, you are calling from 1940. Well, and hello, 1945. How are
Yes,
things
and
in the
hello to
mid
you,
40s?
future. How is the future? Are all the cars flying?
We have flying cars constantly every day. Nobody has to work anymore. We have universal health care and food. There's nobody who's poor. There's no war anymore. You're gonna love it.
It's a miracle. I'm
It's
glad
a
because
miracle.
because right now they're building your Modernism Week. You're transported back in time. They take you back to the days when the boys were just coming back from the war, from getting good old Aldorf, that 1-2 knockout punch, and here we are. That's right, just like that one. And you get to see the when they had the boom and all of the houses were being built. Wonderful time. Architecture was fantastic. Can't wait for you to enjoy Modernism Week next year.
This today's sponsor of Tasty Gents is Modernism Week in Palm Springs, California, in the good old US of A.
Okay, time to get my time machine and I'll be right there. 1 second. Okay, wow. Hey, Greg. Wow.
Hey,
Whew.
Jonathan, I
Yes.
think I just talked to you from 1945. Is that possible?
I don't, well, if so, I look great for my age. I'm just going to put it out there.
You do. I'm
That's,
going to say
yeah,
it. Yep, I'm going to say it. You
yeah.
look great for your age. So it's modern. Before I
Modernism
even
Week.
start, hello, listener. Welcome to Tasty Gents. I'm
Oh,
Greg. This is
I'm
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
We are doing our thing. So Modernism Week this week, then. Yeah. Tell
Hmm.
me what you've done.
We did a bunch of stuff. And so for listener, for those of you who don't know,
Yes.
there's a style of architecture and vibe called mid-century modern that
Yes.
while not invented in Palm Springs, really took root here and took off. And you'll find that it's prevalent in a couple places in Europe and somewhat in LA, but really is
Hmm.
in Palm Springs, and it's really identified by the style of houses and pools and architecture that they had here. And basically, what that means is, and I learned this on a tour, that to be a mid-century modern architecture, you have to have the three things
Oh,
that are always a part of it: steel, concrete, and glass. So if you have
really?
those three, that's right. Yeah. So all of the buildings here in Palm Springs and the houses and the suburbs and the little communities that were built, you'll see that's the common theme across all of them is that they're
Hmm.
not they're not made with wood. It's steel, glass, and concrete.
I did not know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, again, if this is your first time to Taste of Gents, we're glad to have you here. Jonathan and I both live, at least for part of the year, in Palm Springs, California.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so mid-century modern architecture is very much a thing, um,
Yeah.
in the neighborhood in the area. So, and then this is the week when it's sort of celebrated, and there's tours and receptions
Oh,
and
yeah. There's tours, we did a really fun thing that they just did this first. This is the first time they've done it. They've had this organization around for a while, and the organization, it's actually just there's several volunteers, but the two people who spearhead it
Hmm,
are a married couple, a man and a woman, and they're both doctors of communication and
hmm,
filmography.
really?
And they have started this movement to try to preserve some of the old film reels that people would take
Oh,
on their home movies back from like the 30s and 40s and
yeah.
50s of Palm Springs or just the Coachella Valley in general. And so,
Really?
and as they were doing it, like they cobbled together a really fun 45-minute series of clips that they spoke towards as the clips would move on. And you would see some buildings, they're like, oh, I recognize that building, or open areas where there has been no construction yet. And you're like, that was a lot of trees. Like it naturally had all these palm
Yeah.
trees. And we almost had to deforest parts of Palm Springs to make,
Oh,
I don't know, to make it happen. But really cool. So we got to see that.
nice.
And Andrea and I took a bus tour. Thank you to Stephen and Debbie Lynn for the
I was gonna
tickets.
say, yes.
Yes. We and then you sit up on the double-decker bus and it's open air and there's a person
Yeah.
at the head with the microphone and they're telling you all these things. And we went through all these neighborhoods that we had gone through previously in other years before, but
Yes.
walking. And so you can see the
Oh,
houses and you can peek through the gate, like, oh, there's the house. But when
okay.
you're on the double-decker bus, I'm looking into like over the wall. You get to actually
Nice.
see a lot more. So that was fun. And that's what we're doing.
That sounds so much fun. And
Yeah.
and today you're going to go to the Riverside County Fair you mentioned,
Yes.
and it's been
That's
Modernism
right.
Week. And the thing that is not obvious for those of you who are listening in is that Jonathan is safely in Palm Springs, California, and I am in Punta Gorda, Florida.
Yes.
I am on the clear other side of the country, on the west coast of Florida, an hour and a half or so south of Tampa, in a town called Punta Gorda, visiting with my family who live here. And I'm having a great time. But I picked my time to travel when there was a lot of cool stuff going on in Palm Springs, like Modernism Week.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and you remind me, in Spanish, Punta Gorda is enlarged or swollen what?
Point, fat point.
Oh, point, fat point. That's it. Yes.
Yes.
I was trying to fish you out
You were
there.
fishing. Yes,
You know,
I'm
a
not
little
going
bit.
there. I'm not going to go to the dark, scary place. Yes, Punta, famous, towns in the South Florida area. So we have Punta Gorda, Fat Point.
Yeah.
Not far from here is Boca Grande, which of course is Big Mouth.
Big mouth. Yeah.
And then the very famous Boca Raton on the east coast of the state, um, which is Mouth of the Rat.
Yeah. So interesting. Is it
Yeah,
because of the shape of the inlet or something, or is it
probably.
because they had an
I
inundation of
don't know.
rats?
Boca Raton, when I lived in Miami, which is where I grew up, was sort of known for being a bit hoity-toity.
Hmm.
And we were not in the part of South Florida where I grew up. And so we just assumed that the name Rat's Mouth was just a little tiny way of the universe bringing those people down a notch.
Definitely.
Now,
Yeah.
it could be, if any of you listening are from Boca Raton and actually have actual knowledge or information about that area, then feel free. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, my
Yeah, please.
teenage view from South Florida in the 1970s was that they kind of deserved it. So I don't know.
I've had
Um,
those moments. Sure.
yeah, I have had those modes. So
Yeah.
what else are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to the yeah, we talked a little bit about this, but we are going to the fair, and Andrew and I are still mostly vegetarian. We did have fish the other day, we had some fish.
Mm,
So little pescatarian, dipped our toe back into the water and found it was quite pleasing. Um
and that is the water of animals that you eat because you have been non-animal eating now
that's right.
for a couple
Yes.
months. Yeah.
Yes. We eat cheese. So animal enslaving.
Right.
Yes.
Animals are not killed, they're just inconvenienced.
They're just
Yeah.
yes, that's right.
Got it.
Yes, and so we are going to the fair, and I am going to try very hard to not get into Jonathan is at a fair and eats elephant ears and corn
Ah,
dogs,
yes,
and
all the
because
fried things. Oh, yeah.
there are like great, and it's almost like a fair is like a redneck America test kitchen. Like, what
That's
can
a really
we
good idea.
what is it we can make that you can still put it in your mouth and you want it, but you would never find it anywhere else? Like, it's not on a
Good point.
menu. Deep fried butter? Oh, come on, it's out
Is that
there.
actually a thing?
Oh yeah. Oh
Because
yeah.
I know that there's deep fried pickles. I was skeptical, but
Sure.
I'm on board. Those are tasty.
They're
And
pretty
then
good.
and then deep fried Twinkies and deep fried Snickers bars. I've never
And
tried those.
I had a Snickers bar that was deep fried once, and it gets kind of gooey and melty in the
Yes,
middle.
I can. Yep.
The a deep fried, this is one of my more favorite things now. Fried avocado wedges. So
Really?
they'll take an avocado and they'll make like
Yeah.
say 4 to 6 and they'll roll it in panko and right there in the old fryer and it comes out
Mm.
in a second and it's just this melty hot
Oh,
avocado-y
interesting.
goodness.
Yeah,
Had
that'd be
that the other
good.
day.
I would eat that.
Yeah.
I've had deep fried peanut butter and jelly, which
No.
I mean, at the end of the day, peanut butter and jelly is just a winner. It's the original sweet and salty. When salted caramel was like, we've invented something new. I was like, no, you haven't. Peanut butter and jelly did this
No.
forever ago.
Yeah. That's food
So,
science did that a long time ago.
yeah, it's true. What
Remember
else
Goobers?
kind of fun. And Raisinets? I do.
No, I mean
Goobers and Raisinets.
oh yeah.
It
From the
was a
food thing.
song. What were you thinking of?
Well, wasn't that maybe I'm thinking something else, but wasn't there a where you could buy the jar and the peanut
Oh,
butter and the jam were already pre-mixed?
yes. They're mixed in together. And they swirled them around the
Yes.
jar And so
Yes.
if you picked up the jar and looked at it, there'd be this sort of, you'd see the angled channel of jelly next to the angled channel of peanut
Channel
butter.
peanut
And
butter.
all that was really logical until you tried to actually use it. And then it would get mixed up and it looked like kind of
Oh yeah.
a skinned knee gone bad. Um, after just a few uses. And of course,
Yeah.
this is offered to, at least, when I saw it, this is offered to families of children. My own family, for example,
Mhm.
my mother raised three sons, all relatively close in age, which I have to believe is like having a swarm of locusts in your home. So every food product that was brought into the home was just attacked and devoured as if we had never eaten before in our entire lives. So we made the horrible mess of the Goobers peanut butter jelly mix.
Well,
Um,
we only got it once, and I remember I think that we didn't get it again because I refused to get it out of the jar in any other way except my finger.
okay then.
I was just going in and getting
Yeah.
big, and then you just basically eat food off of your fingers, and my mother was horrified. So
Yeah, see, I think it's a good thing. Uh, well, I'm a little envious of the fair, I'm not gonna lie.
yeah,
Because I do love fairs, but I'm not envious about missing the fried food because I would have a difficult time. Something about a fair corn dog with fair mustard on it,
yeah.
an elephant ear,
Uh-huh.
with a little powdered sugar, all of that sounds really, really appealing. And I am glad to not be having those things right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I will take pictures because and we'll
please
post them on
do.
Tasty Gents of the
Yeah.
things I did and did not eat.
That'll be the great one. Yeah, the things the ways in which you made good life choices.
Yeah. I so one of the things that as I get into the winter of my life is I
Are you in
find
the
it
winter?
harder and harder to find people who go to these things with me, besides Bjorn, who will go on rides
Right.
with me. So
Oh,
so so somebody who'll go on the rides because I think the rides are fun and things and everything else. Andrew won't do it. She has no interest whatsoever. Other
really?
friends, yeah,
That
none,
surprises me
zero.
about her. By the way, for the record, I would go on rides with you. Like,
What?
oh my, are you kidding me?
I
The
love the ride.
only
Okay.
the only one it would take a little bit to get me there, but the really, really high, scary roller coasters,
Yeah.
those can be a little much. I can get talked into it. It's been years, but generally I avoid those. Um, but man, everything that's not like the extreme version, yeah, man, rides are
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, dude, I'm in. Okay, that's it. Next year, you're gonna go to Florida in
It's a
March. We're
deal.
gonna stay here.
Yes.
We're doing all the
We're doing
rides.
modernism week. I'm gonna ride on the bus. We're gonna go to the fair.
We
It's
will.
all the things.
And on the beginning of the season, we have to hit Tamale Fest for the world's biggest bounce house.
Yes.
All of these
Yes. Well,
things.
and this week also in Palm Springs, I have that I know of four Seattle friends who are in
What?
Palm Springs right now because it is also a yearly event called it's IBC, what is it? International Bear Convergence.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, listener, if you're unfamiliar, there is a subset of gay men in the world, not just America,
Mhm.
who call themselves bears. They tend to be portly and have beards, and they do potlucks. I'm not even sure. I fall in that category more or less by accident, but tends to be a fun crowd to hang out with if you like that sort of thing. And they have events in the year. And right this weekend is a big event. IBC is in Palm Springs, and several friends are down for the event.
I
Missing that
saw the
too.
big up on the hotel, the big bear, the big inflatable
Yep.
bear was out. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. It's IBC weekend.
Yeah.
So
So they do potlucks and stuff. Do they? I was always curious because if they're bears, do they have someone dressed up as a salmon? They chase them around, or like what?
there are usually any number of men willing to volunteer to be
Chased
dressed
around.
up as a salmon and chased around. However, if you think about the actual bear salmon dynamic, the bears don't actually run very much to
No, that's
chase the
true.
salmon. They sort of stand in one place and let the salmon go by. So
So you just dump these volunteers into the pool
yes, yes.
and then just scoop them out.
And they're
Yeah.
scooped out and carried off.
I think
It's a good time for all.
I think it's a good time for all. Yeah. Um,
Less
that's
so
fun.
perhaps for the salmon, but yeah, in real
Yeah,
life,
that's fun.
also
They
less
well
fun for the
they
salmon.
they signed up for
They did.
it.
So yes, I'm missing that event and my friends at that event this weekend as well.
Oh
So
my gosh, so much going on.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's okay. I'm in South Florida, Southwest Florida,
Yes,
technically. And have done a few cool things since I've been here. So, because we're gonna talk about food now, because it's a thing that we
sure.
do.
Well, let's do
So
it.
we went out and got shrimp one day,
Hmm.
which growing up in South Florida as I did, there's a few things that were like common, available at every bar, everywhere. And
Mhm.
peel and eat shrimp just everywhere. And
Yeah.
on the West Coast, we call them prawns. Prawns and shrimp are slightly different, I've been told. Prawns tend to be bigger on the West Coast, in a way that I
Hmm.
don't enjoy. I don't know why. Um, and shrimp tend to be smaller, like bay shrimp, which I think are not good. Those
Little,
ability to
yeah.
go. So a shrimp that I get here is about the size of my thumb, and you can get them hot, and then they serve them with drawn butter and cocktail sauce, or cold drawn butter and cocktail sauce. But either
Yeah,
way, so we
yeah.
had some shrimp, had some grouper, which is a fish that is everywhere in South Florida, and easy to get, but
Hmm.
kind of unheard of in other parts of the.
I know of grouper, and I
Yeah,
think I've had it when I was in Florida. But remind me,
yeah.
so is it what is this? A whitefish?
So it's a whitefish. I would say it's a relatively standard whitefish. Grouper fillets are usually sort of thin. It's not like a big, thick, halibut looking thing, anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just this ubiquitous fish that is everywhere, which is redundant because I already said
Yeah.
ubiquitous. Um, and you can get it fried or blackened or grilled, or all the ways that fish come, and it's on
Yeah.
every menu, and it's sandwiches and it's everything else. Um, my brother was telling me that there's some little bit of controversy,
Hmm.
or scandal even,
Grouper
where
scandal?
some restaurants, a grouper scandal, some restaurants are substituting lesser known fish for grouper, because people now know enough to know to ask for grouper when they come here. But we used to eat snapper all the time.
Sure.
Um, there is a fish that in South Florida is called dolphin, that I want to clarify for everyone is not
Uh,
flipper. It
okay.
is not porpoise. John,
My
listener,
face.
if you're here with us, I want you to know that for a moment I almost
Yeah.
lost Jonathan.
We have this wonderful bird we like to eat in Washington called spotted owl. Just so
Right,
you know, it's not
exactly,
actually
yes.
an owl, and it's hard to spot.
Yeah, exactly. It's golden retriever. We're having a special on golden retriever tonight. Sorry, we went to the dark place.
We
Uh,
do.
Dolphin is a
Yes.
fish in that you can catch in South Florida. They school in big giant schools, and so when I was younger and lived here, if you fished, you went out, and if you caught you found yourself in a school of dolphin, it was great because you can't not catch fish. You just drop your line and you pull in a fish. You drop your line, you pull in a fish.
Oh
You drop your
wow.
line, you pull in a fish. So it's a really common fish that people would come back with, but for whatever reason, and on menus, it typically is called mahi mahi. Wait,
Oh,
or mahi. There's a difference. So mahi mahi is on the West Coast, and that's a different fish. And then
okay.
mahi is what we usually call dolphin, or I have those switched. Which one is it on the West Coast? Is it the double mahi mahi?
I think it's the double on the West Coast. I think it's
Okay,
mahi
then
mahi.
this then the one when you get a when you're looking at a menu in South Florida and you see
Yeah.
a fish called mahi, mahi, usually that's what we used to call dolphin
Yeah, I'm
growing
gonna
up.
tag this for the Tasty Chance research team to come back with
Got it.
some.
See
Yeah.
what we come up with. But anyway, so I've had some mahi, some dolphin.
Mhm.
I have had some grouper. I've had some shrimp,
Yeah.
um, and a variety of other sort of little things as we've gone as we've been here. So it's
That's
been pretty great.
great. So
Yeah,
you're getting your fish fill.
get my fish fill. Yeah, and
Yeah.
what I've not had yet are conch fritters, um,
And
which are
that's
a thing.
conch is comes out of a
Mhm.
shell, right? It's like
It does. Yeah.
what is this
So it's a
animal?
mollusk.
Oh, it's
And
a
so,
mollusk.
yeah, and so if there's a conch shell is about, depending on which one you get, it's about the size of say a half-gallon milk jug. So it's a good
Okay.
size shell.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen on TV or on a movie or anywhere where somebody blows a shell like a horn,
Hmm.
those are usually conch shells. And
Oh, it's Lord of the
so
Flies. This was
Lord of the
the
Flies. There you go. In Lord of the Flies,
absolutely.
it's the shell. Yeah. And so in a lot of areas, so they're common here, conch are. And so you
Hmm.
can wander out into the flats. So say in the Florida Keys, you can walk out into some of the shallow areas and find conch, the
Hmm.
animal with its shell, or even an abandoned shell. And so then there's people who will saw off the front of it to give it a mouthpiece, and then the nature so the way the way it grows gives you kind of a natural handle, and then you blow
Yeah.
it like a horn, and they sound really cool. But
And
the mollusk itself, not unlike
yeah,
say a clam or another kind of mollusk,
muscle or something. Yeah.
mussel, yeah, it gets chopped up and turned into conch fritters, which is a
Okay.
very, very common Florida Keys, sort of almost touristy thing.
Yeah.
But they're really good. Fritter, who doesn't love a fritter? Basically,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
it's dough, back to fair food. It's dough and conch um, that are battered, or dough rather, batter and dough that with conch in it. That's then deep fried and served. Often, the way we loved it was with a key lime sauce, because key limes are also a thing here.
Key lime sauce. Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Exotic.
thing. So I'm getting
Yeah.
all my South Florida food is what I'm doing. The thing we have not done yet is Cuban food,
Mm.
but which I miss very much. But my brother, not unlike you, is
Hmm.
currently opting to not eat meat. So
Oh
we've
yeah.
had vegetarian lasagna that's really good. We've had some other things really good, kind of into meat avoidance. And
Sure.
Cuban food is meatful, to say
Oh
the
yeah.
least.
A
So a
lot of
lot of
pork
pork.
and
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So may do that before I leave. I don't know.
Sure. Well, a little something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to
Maybe
sort of
sneak
have it,
out.
get a Cuban sandwich, maybe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love those. Yeah. Sure.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
And Tampa, so we're about an hour and a half south of Tampa. So Miami had a huge Cuban population, as you can imagine. So I lived
Mhm,
there in the
mhm.
1980s when a lot of Cubans came over to South Florida from Mariel Harbor. So it was typically referred to as the Mariel Boat Lift. And it was
Hmm.
during the Carter administration, I believe. But what appeared to be true, what people used to say is that in addition to the people seeking asylum and fleeing Cuba, um, that Castro took that opportunity to let a bunch of people out of prison that otherwise would have stayed in prison and put them on rafts. And so people were
Oh,
coming across from Havana, from Mariel Harbor, over to South Florida on rafts and little tiny dinky boats in all kinds of. A lot of people died trying to
yeah.
make that crossing, but a huge part of the Cuban population in South Florida um, came from that what's called the Mariel boat lift
Yeah.
that happened in the 80s. So
Amazing.
anyway, sorry,
And
that was a
it's
weird.
and
That's
it's
a
90, I mean it's 90 miles.
It's
And
90
it's
miles. Yeah,
rough.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
easy.
it's a serious crossing.
Yeah.
Uh, but the reason all that's relevant is that so there's a huge Cuban population in Miami. There's also a large Cuban population in Tampa, which I'm just a
Hmm.
bit south of. So
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that as we head up there, maybe for this weekend, to that might be the time to try Cuban food.
Now, because I don't know Florida well enough, are you in, or maybe all of it is, are you in any of those areas where they have those flat bottom boats with the big fans that you can go,
Airboats?
oh, yeah.
So probably not many. Most of those are in the Everglades.
Okay.
So those are, as you can imagine. So let's see, sawgrass prairie is a natural part of the Florida ecosystem, especially in,
Okay.
in swampy areas. And so it's actually kind of cool. So the Everglades is an enormous national park that is on the southwestern hunk of Florida. If you look at a map of Florida, you'll see a really large chunk of it is the Everglades. And the Everglades do a number of really important things. So it's swampland. So alligators, by the way, alligators are everywhere. There's alligators in ponds. There's alligators in creeks, and alligators they're everywhere. They're like
Yeah.
flies.
This friend of ours,
So
Andrea's friend Helene, who lived and grew up in Florida, would say, like, part of her growing up was when you went to your car, you would look underneath to make sure
yes,
there wasn't a gator.
yep, absolutely.
And that's just a part of how
It's a
you
thing you
live.
do. It's a thing you do.
Wow.
So the Everglades has got, you know, obviously gators and frogs and snakes, and also a lot of bugs and birds and all the things you'd expect in a swamp. And a
Yeah.
lot of the swampy areas, the water itself might only be, a couple of feet deep, but it will be acres and acres and acres of sawgrass plain. And so when you look out over it, what you see is the grass sort of waving in the wind, and it looks even a little bit like land, but it's actually not. It's swamp and sawgrass. So
Yeah.
airboats are designed to go over the top of that. So they don't
Yeah.
have as you said, they're flat bottom. They don't have a rudder. They don't have anything that sticks in under the level of the water at all. There's no motor down there. It's
Yeah.
just a big giant air propeller They're very loud.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if you're on an airboat, you got headphones on or earplugs in, and they zoom around and take you on tours of the Everglades to look at alligators.
That's cool. So have you done this? Or is this too touristy?
When I was a kid, I haven't
Yeah.
done it, not on this trip, and we won't on this trip. But when I was a kid, and I'm interested for you. Like, so here's my question for you: growing up, and you grew
Mhm.
up in Alaska and or
Yes.
Bainbridge
Yeah.
combination, yeah.
Right.
So when you went on a school field trip, like we're gonna learn about the ecosystem or learn about nature. Where did you go?
Mhm. Well, in Alaska, just outside. But
Right.
we, because it's all, and a lot of it's, well, we're in Anchorage, it's a big city. I mean, you have to get
Sure.
outside the city. But you would go to like an aquarium, or you would go to the zoo, or
Yeah.
you would go to these places where they have all of these things because
Right.
they've collected them and
Sure.
imprisoned them.
And did you learn imprison them? Did you, which not inaccurate, but an interesting choice of words. I like it. Did you learn then more about, say, Alaska wildlife than you did about wildlife anywhere else? I mean, did you learn about alligators? I did.
Not in Alaska, there are none. But
Yeah.
yes, we we learned no, we learned there was a lot of eco stuff that we learned that was natural to Alaska as a kid. But again, I was like 9 when we left,
Sure.
so it's
Okay, got it.
a little fuzzy, right? But I remember,
Yeah.
but certainly on in Washington, we would do a whole like, we would go to the zoo or we would go to the
Yeah.
aquarium and stuff. But
Yeah.
no, we didn't learn. I mean, we learned about alligators. We didn't
Sure.
really have much
Yeah.
of an
Well,
opportunity
the
to see
reason I
them.
ask is that when I was in school and growing up in South Florida, you'd sort of grow up thinking, like that your view of the world is the whole view of the world.
Sure.
And so the only Native Americans I ever heard about was the Seminole Indians, because
Mm.
that's who was in Florida.
Mm.
I knew who Ponce de Leon was
Yeah.
and why he was important. And when we went on field trips, we went to Shark Valley. There were no sharks, it's freshwater. Um,
Oh,
but it was a part of Everglades National Park, and so it was always Shark Valley. And we learned about the frogs that were there, and the alligators that were there, and the
yeah.
birds that were there. Roseate spoonbill, that's a bird that I can spot at 20 paces.
All
I've never
right.
heard anybody out of Florida even know what a roseate spoonbill is. Um, when I got to Seattle and I was in North Carolina, and I was like, oh, there's a whole lot of animals here that I've never heard of in my entire life. Like what is it? Gooey duck? What's
Gooey ducks, yeah.
gooey ducks, yeah. So yeah, I can tell you about conch all day long, and I can blow
Yeah.
the horn like Lord of the Flies, but
Yeah.
gooey duck is a little weird. And they're probably related. Um, but yeah,
We're all related, yeah.
we're all we are the world. We are something
Wait,
something.
you can't
We
see us,
are
listeners.
all
We
mollusks.
are
We're
swaying back and
swaying.
forth.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
swaying back and forth. Anyway, yes, South Florida. That's
How
where we.
incredible. And so you got to
Yeah,
go out and do this. And we did a lot of that, less in school for me than in Boy
sure.
Scouts. And we would
Ah,
go hiking
yes.
and camping, and we were constantly like, I grew up in the Olympic National Park, and then and hiking around the base of Rainier and all of those things. Like I
Mm,
spent whenever I wasn't either in school or
mm,
something. And if we and I had a scout masters and kids and stuff. We were literally out all the time, and my mother loved it because I wasn't at home bugging her.
yeah,
So she was
right.
like, "Come back when you run out of clothes. Like just I'll wash them and just." So
Well,
it
I
was
feel
that.
like that
But
was true of that time, but that's very cool.
yeah, so we learned a lot, like when the different types of because you think evergreen trees they're all the same. There's not. There's Doug fir and noble and great. There's all sorts
Yes,
of varieties, and
right.
so yes, we did learn that stuff, but it wasn't through school, and I'm really glad that the Florida school system was into that.
We did that stuff, but then Boy Scouts did it as well. So say like you.
Yeah.
So we went to we were camping either in the swamp or in the Keys. So the
Mm.
swampy lands or along the water. So there was a
And
Boy Scout
and
camp. There was a
yeah.
Boy Scout camp in the Florida Keys. It was on Big Pine Key, which is about 2/3 of the way down the Keys. So, listener, if you're unaware, there's a string of islands off the bottom of Florida
Mm.
that kind of comes south and then hooks over to the west. The first island is called Key Largo, and the last island is called Key West. And in between, there are about 200 other keys.
Mm.
They're joined by a single road, US 1, which actually goes all the way from Maine to Key West. And so it's road, bridge, road, bridge, road, bridge, all the way down to Key West. And so some of the islands are very small, and almost you blink and you miss it. Some of them are good sized. Key West is good sized. Key Largo is good sized. Big Pine is also good sized. There's a
Mm.
Boy Scout camp, or used to be a Boy Scout camp at least, on Big Pine Key called Camp Sawyer.
Hmm.
So we would, you go to, when you're camping out at Camp Sawyer, there is, there's, you looking at the flora and fauna in the tide pools. Sea cucumbers were a very popular thing, because you wander out in the shallows, and whatever tour guide or aging Boy Scout leader you have with you is reaching down and grabbing things off the bottom to show you. Um, or we would be out in the Everglades,
Hmm.
with mosquitoes the size of your hand,
Oh boy, yeah.
and on and on and on. Boy Scouts,
Yeah,
that, like, you're going to survive no matter what happens.
you'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah, so
We
I
did
learned all
more.
that stuff, and it was all Florida stuff.
And that's really cool. And I love
Yeah,
that you had so much exposure to it, and that you utilize the kind of the environment that you guys had available,
yeah,
and how the um for me, how fun it is that a same organization, Boy Scouts,
yeah,
is adaptable enough to work in mostly in an environment. Like
yeah.
you just get different boots. Yeah, you
Different
just get
boots. Well
yeah.
said. That's it. You get the boots that'll take you through the swamp, or boots that'll take you out into the tidal flats, or boots that'll take you up to Mount Rainier.
Yeah, all of them. We did one of my favorite Boy Scout camps that
Mm.
I was able to go. And one of the things about being a dad when your kids in scouting, 'cause it's not Boy Scouts anymore, it's actually Scouting of America. So it's boys and
Oh,
girls. And so
really?
yep, that's right. So
Know
it's
that.
Scouting of America, and it's boys and girls. They have separate troops, but they can have the same camps and things like that. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of stuff, but it's fine. So there's girls, there are female Eagle Scouts now, and it's cool. Um,
Wow. How did I miss
yes.
that? That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So they opened it up. We went to in Florida to one called Sea Base, and Sea Base is in Isla Morada,
I know it.
Morada. Yeah,
Isla Morada.
Isla Morada. Okay,
Yep, and I know
that's
Sea Base very well.
yeah. So and that is a Boy Scout camp where you sail. You get on a
Yeah,
sailboat, and the sailboat takes you through the Keys and out into the
that's right.
Atlantic.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! And the thing about that is that when you're a parent, it is a hot ticket to get be the adult that goes
Boy,
to
that's
sea base,
true.
because I'm paying. I mean, besides the obviously the flight and stuff, you pay like $75 for a week of camp
Mm.
on a
Mm.
ship, on a sailing vessel, where you do nothing as the adult, because the boys have to do it all.
Drive it
They
all.
do all
Yeah.
the sailing and stuff like that, and
Oh
it was
man.
the best. I loved it. Yeah,
That would be amazing.
it was.
There used to be a tiki bar in Isla Morada where that I frequented. I have been to Sea Base. I have not been on the boats, not been done the sailing programs, but have
Mhm.
seen them. And it was one of those things. I was in an explorer post that we
Oh
always
yeah.
wanted to do, but never quite got around to. But I've had a lot of rum runners at the tiki bar in Isla Morada, and that's the same, right?
It's
Almost
almost the
similar,
same.
almost the
Yeah,
same.
I mean, it's the same as being the sea. You get up, you're a little
Right,
wobbly,
exactly. You're a little
very,
wobbly, yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes you get seasick,
You get all
and
seasick.
it's all very fruity, you know.
That's all.
So,
Yes.
which I think is not really true.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
not.
yeah.
How fun.
Yes. So
Florida.
it's
What a cool
fun to be
place.
back in Florida. It's fun to sort of remember what the experience was like. And like I said, growing up, all Indians were Seminole Indians, all, you know, reptiles were alligators and snakes, because that's all we saw. Um, and swamp was common. Everyone knew what sawgrass was. Sawgrass. You literally pluck a piece of sawgrass out and you could slice your arm open with it, because
Oh,
it
they're
was,
very sharp.
yeah, they're very sharp. You wouldn't slice it deeply. It would just, hurt. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, sawgrass is real.
And that's how you
In
attract
fact,
the alligators.
that's how you do what?
That's how you attract the alligators so you can wrestle them.
That's it. Yes,
That's it.
because we
Yeah.
do wrestle alligators. It's required.
I've seen it on
You have to
TV.
pin them and hold their head back and all that. I-75, Interstate 75, used to end, I think it goes farther now, but the main route from Miami, the east side of Florida, over to the west side of Florida in the south there was, I think the Tamiami Trail. I'm actually right close to the Tamiami Trail now, but it was referred to as the Sawgrass Expressway. And
Huh.
so I may be mixing that up. I think Tamiami Trail and Sawgrass Expressway are the same as they span the state, but I might be messing it up.
Yeah.
So I didn't do
Very cool though.
my research. Yeah. And you know what, Jonathan?
What's that?
We have
What?
burned through an entire 30 minutes talking about
Already?
sawgrass and
And conch?
fried fair food and conch
Yeah.
and alligators.
Well, we did a lot. I mean, we did some time
We did a
traveling.
lot. We did
Yeah,
some time traveling.
we did.
Yes,
It
we heard
was,
heard what was happening in 1945.
that was
We
amazing.
let 1945 Jonathan know that there's going to be flying cars in the future, which is
What a
good.
joy.
What a joy.
Greg, thank you. Listener, if you're still with us, thanks for joining.
Thanks.
You can find us on Facebook, and we'll
Yes,
put
you
up
can.
some fair food and some unfair food, and you get to choose. And you can always email us at tastygents@gmail.com
Yep.
or go to tastygents.com and check out our website.
Or check us out on Facebook
Yeah.
and tell us what you wish we would ramble on about, because we love hearing from you.
We sure do.
All right, my friend, I'm going to log off and go back out into the Florida warm sunshine.
Okay, enjoy, and we'll see you next week.
Indeed. Bye, everyone.